The billionaire died and left absolutely nothing to his family. Instead, he gave his $500 million fortune to 5 complete strangers. His children were furious and heartbroken. But when they discovered WHY, their father chose these 5 people. Everything made sense. This is the story of the ultimate test of human character. Richard Thompson Sr. was one of the richest men in America. He owned hotels, restaurants, and shopping centers across the country. When he died at age 85, hundreds of people attended his funeral. His family expected to inherit his massive fortune. Richard Jr., his son, was already planning how to spend the money. Richard Jr.'s wife, Patricia, was excited about their new wealth. "We can finally buy that mansion in Beverly Hills," she whispered during the service. The grandchildren discussed expensive cars and luxury vacations. They all believed Richard Sr. had left them everything, but they were about to receive the biggest shock of their lives. 3 days after the funeral, the family gathered at the lawyer's office. Attorney Johnson looked nervous and uncomfortable. "I must warn you," he began carefully. "Your father's will is very ... unusual." Richard Jr. laughed confidently. "Just read it, Johnson. We're ready." Johnson cleared his throat and began reading. "I, Richard Thompson Sr., leave my entire fortune to 5 individuals, but none of these individuals are my family members." The room fell completely silent. Patricia's face turned white with shock. "What do you mean, Richard Jr.?" demanded angrily. "There must be some mistake." Johnson continued reading the names. Maria Gonzalez receives $100 million. James Wilson receives $100 million. The family listened in complete disbelief. Linda Chang, Carlos Rodriguez, and Amy Parker each receive $100 million. The remaining assets go to various charities. Richard Jr. stood up in rage. "We don't know any of these people. My father has lost his mind." Attorney Johnson explained what he knew about the 5 strangers. Maria Gonzalez works 3 jobs to support her children. James Wilson is 18 years old and cares for his grandmother. Linda Chang is a hospital nurse. Carlos Rodriguez has been homeless for 2 years. Amy Parker teaches elementary school. Patricia screamed in frustration. "These are just random poor people. Why would Richard give our money to strangers? There has to be some explanation." For this madness, Johnson handed them a sealed letter from Richard Sr. Richard Jr. opened his father's letter with shaking hands. The letter began, "My dear family, by now you know about my will. You're probably angry and confused about my decision, but I want you to understand why I chose these 5 people. For the past 10 years, I have been watching and testing people." The letter continued, "I disguised myself as different characters. Sometimes I was a homeless man asking for help. Sometimes I was an elderly person who needed assistance. I wanted to find people with truly good hearts. These 5 strangers showed me more kindness than my own family ever did." The letter revealed Maria's incredible kindness. 3 years ago, I dressed as a hungry homeless man. I sat outside the restaurant where Maria works as a waitress during her break. Maria bought me food with her own money. She didn't just give me leftovers. She bought a full meal. Maria talked to me like I was a human being. She asked about my family and listened to my made-up stories. When I told her I was cold, she gave me her own jacket. Maria makes minimum wage, but shares everything she has. This woman has a heart of pure gold. James Wilson impressed me with his selfless dedication. The letter continued, I pretended to be a confused elderly man at the bus stop. James was rushing to work, but stopped to help me. He missed his bus and was late for work, to make sure I was safe. Later, I discovered James works to pay for his grandmother's medical care. Linda Chang showed me what true compassion looks like. I disguised myself as a poor patient in the emergency room. Linda was working the night shift and was exhausted, but she treated me with incredible kindness and respect. She held my hand when I pretended to be scared. I later learned Linda uses her own money to buy supplies for poor patients. She brings blankets from home. For people who are cold, Linda works extra shifts to help cover her colleagues' family emergencies. She treats every patient like they're her own family member. The world needs more nurses like Linda Chang. Carlos Rodriguez taught me about generosity and poverty. I met him when I was pretending to be a starving homeless person. Carlos had very little food, but he shared half of everything with me. He gave me his warmest blanket on a freezing night. Carlos protected me from other dangerous people on the streets. I discovered Carlos became homeless after losing his job due to an injury, but he never became bitter or angry about his situation. Carlos helps other homeless people find food and shelter. He organizes groups to keep everyone safe and warm. This man has wealth in his heart that money cannot buy. Amy Parker showed me the true meaning of dedication to children. I pretended to be the grandfather of a struggling student. Amy spent her own time and money helping this child succeed. She bought school supplies and stayed after hours for tutoring. Amy never asked for anything in return. I learned Amy works at 3 different schools. She uses her salary to buy food for hungry students. Amy has adopted children whose parents abandoned them. She believes every child deserves love and opportunity. Amy is creating the next generation of good people. The letter then addressed Richard Sr.'s family directly. Now, let me tell you about my own children and grandchildren. Richard Jr., you visited me twice a year, always asking for money. Patricia, you complained about my simple lifestyle constantly. My grandchildren only called when they needed financial help. None of you ever asked about my health or happiness. You were always too busy with your own lives to show real care. When I pretended to be a poor old man, you walked past me on the street. My own family showed me no kindness when I needed it most. You loved my money, not me. Attorney Johnson revealed more shocking details. Your father spent 10 years documenting these encounters. He hired private investigators to verify each person's character. Maria, James, Linda, Carlos, and Amy never knew they were being tested. Their kindness was completely genuine and spontaneous. Richard Sr. called them his true family of the heart. Johnson continued, your father left detailed instructions. Each beneficiary will receive their inheritance with one condition. They must continue their charitable work and help others. If they become greedy or selfish, the money goes to charity. This inheritance comes with responsibility, not just wealth. Johnson began calling the 5 beneficiaries. Maria was working her evening shift. At the restaurant, Ms. Gonzalez, "You've inherited $100 million, Johnson said. Maria dropped the phone and started crying. "This must be a mistake," she whispered in disbelief. James was reading to his grandmother when he received the call. Linda was finishing her hospital shift. Carlos was at a homeless shelter. Amy was grading papers late at night. Each person had the same reaction: complete shock and disbelief. When the 5 strangers learned about Richard Sr.'s test, they were amazed. "He was testing us," Maria asked in wonder. "I just treated him like any other person who needed help. I never expected anything in return." Each beneficiary felt honored, but also overwhelmed by the responsibility. James immediately made plans for his grandmother's medical care. "Now she can get the best treatment available," he said gratefully. Linda wanted to improve conditions at her hospital. Carlos planned to build homeless shelters. Amy dreamed of starting a school for underprivileged children. Richard Jr. and his family tried desperately to contest the will. "This is insane," Patricia screamed at Johnson. "We're his real family. We deserve that money." But Johnson explained the will was completely legal. "Your father was mentally competent when he wrote this." The family hired expensive lawyers to fight the inheritance. They claimed Richard Sr. was manipulated or mentally ill. But every court rejected their arguments. The evidence of their greed and neglect was overwhelming. The 5 strangers' kindness was thoroughly documented. "They're doing exactly what Father hoped," Richard Jr. admitted sadly. "They're making the world better with his money. We would have just bought expensive things for ourselves. Father chose people who would honor his legacy. We failed his test of character completely." Richard Thompson Sr.'s inheritance test revealed profound truths about human nature. He discovered that kindness exists. In unexpected places, the people with the least money often have the biggest hearts. True wealth is measured by how much you give, not how much you have. And real family is defined by love and care, not blood relationships. "Character cannot be bought or taught," Richard Sr. had written. "It comes from the soul and shows itself in actions." These 5 people proved that good hearts exist everywhere. They deserved wealth because they understand its true purpose. Sometimes the greatest inheritance is learning what really matters in life. If Richard Sr.'s test opened your eyes about true character, please like, subscribe, and share. Who in your life would pass the kindness test? Tell me in the comments below.